as we listen to your mind blowing account of it, there was I'm trying to understand, right? Obviously, um, abundance. I can only imagine the fruit that you get when you're incarcerated is either old or too. It's not ripe, or it's too ripe,
Spot on.
or
Spot on.
it's not like that. And I don't know if it was your camera, but those apples look particularly shiny. I was like, dang, did they know he was coming to the store? That looks
Polished
fake.
all the apples.
Yeah, that looks fake almost because it was just so bright and colorful. And maybe it's just because I'm looking at it, trying to understand your perception of the whole thing and your reaction to it. Was it the? I know I kind of have a feeling what you're going to say. You're going to say it's all three, but abundance,
Number one.
variety, or freshness. All of them apply, really.
You know what, Griff, for me, and I said it there, but for whatever reason, for me, and I'm sure we all in life, in or out of prison, but particularly in prison, because this is what we're speaking about, how deprivation of different types, being deprived of certain things for different periods of time in one's lives. For me, it was fresh fruit and vegetables when it came to food, for whatever reason. Yes, I'm sure in prison that it wasn't grade A produce just picked that day. Right? And yet, nor should it be. That should be going to kids that are in school, etc., etc., not to those of us that are in the joint. And yet, on the other side of that, with the amount of money that the prison industrial complex brings in annually, everything should be damn near grade A, because there's certainly no shortage of money that they're generating by incarcerating so many. So there's two sides, actually, now that we're speaking about it, of that coin. But for me personally, Griff, it was just being in there. It was all the colors. It was the variety, as you said. It was the colors and the abundance. It was all what you said. That was the trifecta there, that I kept losing my mind over stuff. Like, now here I am, literally dreamt about that stuff for however long. And now I'm in the midst of it and I'm seeing it. And I guess even if I couldn't have had whatever I wanted, didn't have the money to get whatever I wanted in that time, that moment, just to be able to see it, that was enough for me. The rest, I was good.
It's almost not, at that point, it's almost not about the fruit. It's what the fruit represents. It's like abundance, freedom. I'm out here, I can touch it, tactile. My environment's different. I'm not in that place anymore. You know? And when you were talking about the quality of food that people get, immediately I went to healthcare and nutrition. Like, maybe, just maybe, if we tried to make sure people ate right and were trying to be healthy, okay, maybe that would impact the healthcare costs in prisons, or that sort of thing, where we're overall trying to make the body better to rehabilitate these guys, that it could have positive effects all the way around. But then you deal with people saying, well, it looks like you're giving them preferential treatment, or, you know, then it gets all political and argumentative. But the bottom line is, what we put in our bodies impacts how we think and how we feel and how healthy we are.
Strong point. And I want everybody to remember, as you pose that, forgive me for cutting you off, is, I don't know what the percentage is, because my mind is just not as it once was, just retention and otherwise, but percentage-wise, the overwhelming majority of the 2 point whatever million that are incarcerated each year in this country, the overwhelming majority are getting back out.
Right.
I think there's a general conception that you lock them up, you put them in there, and they come out and bingo, whether it's a year, 5 years later, whatever the case may be, you threw them in a cage, and there's this terrible misconception. Now that human being is being released from a cage, magic dust is sprinkled over them, and presto, you're made perfect, and you think right. And going back to the food, you just brought me to so many different categories with that question, Griff. But that's a great point you make, and that to be discussed at another time, about locking people up and expecting you unlock that cage and you let them out at some point and that magic dust gets sprinkled. Huge misconception, but that's for an entire different segment.